Good morning, all. I'm going to do an introduction for Dr. Jeffrey Olson. He joined Nightingale College in December 2017 and has served as the college vice president, learner education and provost, and now serves as the president of the college. At 14, Dr. Olson entered community college, then transferred to Brigham Young University and received his bachelor's degree in history with a minor in English at the age of 19. He then earned a master's degree in secondary social studies education with a teacher's certification from Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, Washington. Dr. Olson taught in public schools for several years. Dr. Olson transitioned to healthcare by joining Franciscan Health Systems as a regional education and training specialist. During his tenure, he maintained regulatory compliance records, taught community education and outreach, developed floor nurse training and certification, and worked to develop statewide community health protocols and trainings. Dr. Olson earned a secondary master's degree from Western Illinois University in instructional design and technology. During his doctoral program at Utah State University, he taught college classes and served as a lead qualitative researcher on several multi-million-dollar grants. Upon completion, he joined Western Governors University as an instructional design manager for the College of Health Professions and designed several new programs under the College of Health banner, managing these teams for more than 3 years before joining Nightingale College. Dr. Olson is a strong believer in his mission, vision, and values of Nightingale College. His why stems from his long-standing goal of helping people improve themselves, their families, and their communities, and that education can be a catalyst in helping people become the best versions of themselves. Dr. Olson, everybody.
Hello again. For those in the room, we were already chatting and getting to know each other a little bit before we started. I do want to welcome everyone who is joining us from online, from all across the country. We have people from coast to coast and in Alaska and Hawaii. So welcome to all. This semester, we have over 800 people starting nursing across the country. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the learner population here and go over a few of the statistics about what you guys look like as a group. This is a current map of where we're all coming from. Obviously, we have been expanding across the country. We're not in every state, but we are expanding across the country in all different territory and areas. You can see the two very dark areas. Alaska, we are currently the #1 nursing education provider in the state of Alaska, as well as here in California, where we have over 1,000 learners across the country, or across the state, top to bottom. So, again, looking at the map, you probably couldn't tell where we started or where we're located. We are located out of Utah, right in here, which is now not our top providing area. We are spreading across a larger geographic area, and that means more people, a lot of new situations, a lot of new healthcare environments that we can operate in. Population a little bit more here as we break it out. Age, we are non-traditional age for educational experiences. Most of the time they say traditional learner is below 24. That's, again, the four-year university's bachelor's degree seeking. We don't represent that, right? Most individuals who are coming here have already been in careers, have already moved through different life experience, coming with a lot to the table in their educational journey. So we recognize and honor that we know that you're not all 19, 20, brand new to education, brand new to this environment, or brand new to healthcare, perhaps. Racially, we do break down more predominantly. We're about 70% now non-white. This is significant for a few reasons. One of them is that the nursing profession has historically been dominated by middle class or upper middle class white women. The National Institutes of Health have come out with several reports that suggest that the quality of care or nursing health outcomes improve when those providing the care reflect those receiving the care. If our population, as the census report would indicate, is becoming increasingly non-white and diverse across the country, we need to have more people that reflect the population demographics. So we have nothing against white women, but we also recognize that those who are receiving care no longer reflect that demographic group. And if we're going to continue to provide meaningful care to help the outcomes, we also need to reflect that space. So we honor those who are coming into the profession that will be able to help shift some of those outcome measures for underserved populations historically in this country. Also, Pell recipient. Pell is a designation, a financial designation that the Department of Education has used for years, and it's those receiving additional funds or even considered in some cases hardship funds. So recognizing income level. We recognize that over 50% of our population have an income of under $50,000 a year. So again, additional support, additional funding opportunities, things that we need to do to help to try to make the education approachable for our learner population and support them through recognizing there are some potential financial hardships that they're also going through. Also, first generation, about half of our population, just over half, 51%, are first generation, meaning first in their family to receive a college degree. That's significant for a lot of other reasons too, which I wish we had a lot of time to discuss, all the sociological implications of that. Also, first time, full time, meaning no prior college experience. Most of our learners come with prior college, right? Only 7%, we are their first college experience. So we know that you're coming in with prior experience, with prior credits, with a lot behind you coming into this space. And we do honor that journey we've had so far. Also, learners with children, 56% of our population have children. So we also know life experience, also other commitments likely within their life, as opposed to a lot of traditional college environments where under 24, likely single, likely less commitment. We know that you have other things on your plate and in your life that are also time consuming. Additionally, the breakdown here into urban, rural, suburban environments, you can see metropolitan areas make up the dominant population here, but we do have a large contingent who are coming from smaller communities and even rural environments. And that's also really significant when we think of health outcomes. A lot of rural environments are significantly underserved in this country. Access to healthcare, access to good clinical staff, it's very challenging. But if we can help individuals who live and love those communities into the healthcare space, they often stay and the outcomes improve for their entire community set. So it's both an economic driver for that community, but it also is a health outcome driver and supports everyone. So we are very focused in trying to support those who work and live in rural spaces as well, because of the beneficial gains both for themselves and their communities overall. All right, this also looks at our clinical partner facilities. One caveat on this chart is yes, we do have clinical partners that exist in states like California and Texas. However, current state law in California and Texas do not permit us to do rotations in the state. And I know the people here in LA are giving me the stink eye, and I approve. I understand the frustration that comes with that, because it does mean essentially you will be required to travel. That is required right now. We are currently working with the legislature in trying to change the current regulation in the state of California to allow rotations in state. We may ask for some support if you live in some of these regions where we are currently not permitted to do rotations, to support us in helping to change that, and we'll get more information as we go along that path. But recognize, yes, we have partners, doesn't necessarily mean we can do rotations in all of those spaces. But want to let you know that we are preparing for the time when that legislation changes so that you could do rotations as close to home as humanly possible. That's our intent and that's our hope. So we're working very diligently on that, but recognize, I know. All right, that's a little bit of our learner population. Now we want to talk about why you're here, right? Everyone's coming in, you have different experiences, you have different backgrounds. You're coming to the table with a lot, right? We know that you already have experience in college, in healthcare, in life that bring much to why you have decided to go into nursing education. And that's the question this morning. Why? Why are you here? Why do you want to be a nurse? And this is part where I'm now going to be interactive with the room. For those of you online, please go ahead and put it into the chat. Fill in that chat line. Let us see. Why do you want to become a nurse? For those in the room, I open it up. Why would you like to become a nurse? What's your motivation?
I love helping people.
Love helping people. Love that. I hope everyone sees that as a goal. Other things, other reasons.
I think similar for me, advocacy. I initially became an LVN because of the loss of a family member, my grandmother. She had a massive stroke and heart attack in one of the premier cardiothoracic surgery centers in the state, and she passed away.
Oof.
And I was very young and did not understand. And so I initially became a nurse thinking, who else is going through this type of thing where they're talking medical jargon and just oblivious and emotional. So advocacy is probably the biggest reason.
I love that. For those online, the why is advocacy. She also spoke of an experience in which a family member unfortunately passed in one of the chief facilities in the state for her condition, and she was too young to truly understand. So she wants to go into this to help advocate and help others in a similar situation.
I have the same experience. My father had prostate cancer. So my father had prostate cancer. I was very young at the time. I didn't understand the whole process of what was going on. I had to quit my job and took care of him, didn't have a clue what I was doing. So at first I wanted to become a flight attendant and shifted. So the same thing as her, just to advocate.
Thank you. Thank you, I love that. Other reasons?
For career advancement.
Career advancement.
I had a RN supervisor at a time that told me, oh, that's not in your scope of practice. You can't do that. So I said to myself, never again will somebody tell me you can't do that.
Love that. So the comment was also, in a previous employment situation, the boss told them, that's outside of your scope of practice. And they never wanted to hear that again. So now they're going in to make sure that they have full scope of practice. I also heard representation.
Representation, and also to help family members understand like their health risks and complications of why we have to go to the hospital.
Yes, helping others and family and friends to know health risks and why we do need to go into a health environment. And again, this also comes down to, we know the health outcomes increase when the people providing the care represent the people who are receiving the care, but that also increases the desire of individuals or the confidence in individuals seeking that care. And right now we do have a gap in this country of confidence within different underserved communities. So representation is crucial in helping those outcomes to improve. Other thoughts? Please.
I was a medic in the Army for almost 10 years, so I was a medic in the Army for almost 10 years, fell in love with it, so I just wanted to do something on the civilian side that kind of was going along the same direction, and where I could just, help people, kind of along with everything else, representation. My grandfather, I'm gonna pass off of that actually, but yeah, that's, it's really important to have people you can trust.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you so much. And I know if you've come from a military context and going into a civilian life, a lot of those credentials and skills you've learned are hard to transfer into civilian space. When I worked at the hospital system that was mentioned in the introduction, my secretary was essentially a PA in the Navy, but his credential didn't transfer. So he ended up going into the hospital environment, but all he could qualify for in residential or in civilian life was secretarial work. And that's a travesty to have someone that skilled. So I used him all the time in trainings and other modules because he had the skill to do the training. He just wasn't able to practice. So able to use some of that, but absolutely, kind of that transference of skill that already exists into the clinical approved space in civilian life is a crucial thing to be overcome. Other thoughts? You can be honest. Yes, please.
The reason why I'm in this field is to make a difference, and as well as representation and being a good Samaritan.
To be what?
Good Samaritan. A good Samaritan.
Good Samaritan. Good. I'm sorry. Yeah. It was representation. It was also to improve and help others, as well as to be a good Samaritan across. Wonderful. And I know there's another motivation here that's not being explicitly expressed, but it also is money. I'm seeing the heads. I know. Every time we do this, somebody is fully blind, just says, I want the money. Money would be great. And hopefully that is an end result, right? We hope that that improves your financial situation for yourself and your families. We know that it's an economic driver for communities. Those are all good motivations, right? Do consider this. We're going to give you an assignment here at the end, which is just to write down your why in just a few sentences. And we'll have you connect when you meet with your Learner Support Services counselor. Give them your why. Why are you here? What are you hoping to accomplish? What are those things that are meaningful for you? When you get into the thick of this, it's going to become challenging. Remembering your why will help you stay on course. So we want everyone to really think about, what are you hoping to achieve? What do you want to do here? And help that drive you through the times that will be challenging. Speaking of that, I want to introduce your learner journey going a little bit nerdy. You already heard my bio, I'm super nerdy, so I'm going to try to be as concise as possible in running through this, but I think this is also helpful in kind of framing the concept of what your journey in going through nursing education can be. Now, Joseph Campbell was a professor of mythology, and he wrote what's called the hero's journey. You may have heard of it before, you may be familiar with it, you've obviously seen it in movies. So stories like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, several of those others that are great epics follow, in many ways, the hero's journey all the way through. Now his model is 17 easy steps, which again, I'm not going to go through. We're going to break it down into the 3 major subcomponents of that journey, which are in the inner circle: separation, initiation, and return. And we'll talk about it in terms of those. First, we'll talk about the separation. This is the first part of the journey. This is where your hero hears the call to action in those journeys. This is where they cross the threshold, meaning they've heard the call, they've chosen to go on the journey. So, Lord of the Rings. He hears the call, he decides to go with Gandalf. He could have said no and stayed in the Shire. And that's a choice, that's fine. It just wouldn't have been a very good movie. So, we would have stopped and had a little party in the Shire. And some of those other journeys. Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, similar thing. He could have just said, no, I'm going to stay on the farm. That's a choice. It's not necessarily good or bad. It's just a choice. And in the hero's journey, we see someone cross the threshold. In your condition, here in nursing education, you've heard the call to nursing. And now you're making the choice to cross the threshold into that educational journey that will ultimately lead you into practice. One caveat to that is you have until 5:01 next week, Friday. So it's the end of the ad drop period to decide whether you want to stay on this journey. That's your threshold. You have a 2-week period where it's free. After the 2-week period, funds have been invested, Department of Ed, etc., and you're considered on the path. But you have until 5:01 to really make that decision, to really be committed. The journey will be hard. So making sure you understand what your why is, how you want to proceed, why you want to proceed is important. So I want to be very clear on your deadline. You have 2 weeks to ensure that you're committed. If you commit, we commit. We are committed now, and we will continue to invest. But we want to make sure that you're also in it for the whole journey. So be aware. In a 2-week window here, this is when you've officially crossed the threshold and the journey is full swing underway. In this initiation period, once you've crossed that threshold, there are lots of different things that start to happen. The journey gets hard. In every one of those epic stories, that's when the opposition sets in. Other people try to stop them, dissuade them, to move them off the path, to get them to do something else, to create barriers or obstacles. It's referred to as the road of trials or the temptations that fall into the way. This journey will be no different. Issues will come up. Things will happen, both personally and potentially educationally. We have learners who have lost family members, who have had financial hardships, who have fallen under natural disasters that have taken their home and their livelihood. We recognize that's part of living, It's especially hard when you're on a hard journey to have one more complication. Those kinds of things will come up in life. They're going to continue to come up. Just recognize that when you're already on a hard path, that can be a very challenging space to be in. We have some services here again. Your Learner Support Services Counselor are primed to support you. So when some of those major disasters crop up and you're feeling overwhelmed, reach out. We've helped people find housing, food, clothing, resources of all kinds to help them keep going on their journey, and we're prepared to help you. But we know that they will crop up. Issues will emerge. Please reach out for help and recognize we do want you to be successful and we want to support you. There are other temptations too, though. You may be in a situation where none of those other outside factors may be impeding your education. You may just be in a class that's really hard. And there may be other temptations that crop up. Oh, I can cheat. I can use someone else's study materials. I can pass off someone else's paper as my own. Couple problems. Number one, we have policies in place. If we catch you, policies can go up to and including even expulsion, depending on how extreme it is. But another component of that is, think of this in a long term. If your family member is about to go under anesthesia, the last thing you don't want to hear is, even C's get degrees. Or to hear, well, I cheated my way through that, but I got the gist, so I think we're going to be fine. The confidence placed on you as a healthcare professional is not idly placed, and please don't let it be misplaced. Your education here is crucial to your ultimate success. The things that we heard about representation, about making a difference, about being a good Samaritan, those go out the window if you are caught cheating. That representation also shines negatively back. So please, make a decision to support your own educational journey and to get everything you can out of what we have to offer here, honestly and with integrity, because that's what you'll be delivering at the end in practice. We have lots of things here to try to help support. Again, you don't put locks on your door to keep the bad people out. It's to keep honest people honest. Bad people are going to get in if they want to. They'll find a window, they'll find a door, they'll pry it open, they'll do something, but the locks keep good people honest. And that's a lot of what we have here. Proctoring services and live spaces and the additional educational monitoring that we do with the faculty. It's not there to punish anyone, it's there to keep good people honest. To help provide you the best opportunity to test yourself and make sure you know your stuff. So please recognize that, but I do want to just speak to that for just a moment because the temptations are real. Classes are hard. It may crop up. Just be aware. Focus on the why. What do you want to get out at the end? And let that drive you through the hard time. The next part in here is the return. You get your diploma, we have a wonderful celebration, we're all excited, we take pictures, now there's a transition. Most movies end before this phase, but the transition's really an important part of this. So I want to also let you think about that at the beginning of the journey. When you're done with your educational experience, transitioning to practice, making the adjustment from that heavy, heavy workload of learning into balancing life again is challenging. And we have resources to help you with that as well. Take advantage, reach out, but recognize a lot of the hard times you went through here will only transform you if you take the time to really consider them at the end. What are the lessons learned? How can I make this part of who I am? So don't short yourself of the education you get here by thinking the diploma is the end point and you're done. There are other things to consider as well. All right. So that's me nerding out. It's okay. I don't think anyone was harmed. You've heard the call to nursing. You're crossing the threshold. You have 12 days to commit, as I mentioned before. So that is 5:01 p.m. next Friday. That is your deadline. At 5 o'clock's the end of the add drop period. So if we don't hear by 5, you're in. That's our assumption. We are committing, you're committing, we're moving forward with full resource behind, right? Everyone. So be aware, but focus again on the why of your journey. And the assignment we'll recap at the end, but we want everyone in the room, those in virtual cyberspace, those in the room, everyone. When you meet with your LSS counselor here at the very beginning, in the next week or so, they'll reach out to you. Have a little paragraph. Write down just a few sentences. It doesn't have to be too extreme, but just write down your why. What are you hoping to do? What do you want to achieve? Why is it so significant to you? And have that available to give to your counselor. Okay? It's your first assignment in school. All right. Another component we do want to just go over here is as part of this journey as well. I mentioned that there are lots of different things that can crop up or create conflict or get in the way of your successful journey. And we recognize when you come to school, you're a whole person. You're not merely an intellectual being that we are stimulating with glorious content to fill you with, right? You're a whole human. You have social needs, you have emotional needs, you have other needs that exist. We like to look at you as an entire human. So we know that some of those things may at times be a little bit stretched. You might be a little emotionally stretched or financially stretched, and those can also impact your ability to be successful as a learner. When those things crop up, please reach out to your counselor. Have them help you. There are resources, there are tips, there are tricks that can help. We've seen it before, we've helped people before, we want to help you. So thinking about that. A quick little exercise here in the room. I'm not going to ask you to, expose yourself in telling me these things, but just consider this. Looking at the 8 dimensions of wellness, where do you see balance now? Are there opportunities, meaning are there spaces that are perhaps a little unbalanced at the moment for you? What might pose a barrier to your ability to put forth the time, the energy, the effort in being successful in education that you might want to consider how to put into balance a little bit differently? What might you need to overcome those challenges? Where can you find support? It may not always be our counselors, maybe it's family, maybe it's friends, maybe it's your religious communities or support groups of other kinds. That's fine too, but where can you find support if you see that there may be a disbalance? And the question I will ask, why would we spend time in a welcome forum talking about this? Any thoughts?
I think to level set, right? Because like you mentioned, and I appreciate this diagram, I'm actually going to Google it when I get home. There is a lot that goes into this commitment. And I thank you for acknowledging we're human beings. And this is the spectrum of our very existence. So if there is something hindering someone, think about it early, strategize, plan so that you are successful.
Good. For those online, again, the concept there is about recognizing that we are whole humans coming into the space. And so recognizing that there may be needs within that space and allow people, because of the commitment it's going to take, to really consider where they're at and what they may need to do. Other thoughts?
I think it's about, can you really do it? Like that hero journey, we really feel like we can do it. But once you get on this journey, you haven't thought about all the things that it's going to take for you to be successful. The tuition, the money, the time, the classes, everything, the commitment, having to say no to your friends, going places. It's all about, am I in the space to make this commitment and make it really happen?
Yeah. No, I appreciate that very much too. We mentioned before, we know many of you have children or other commitments. Many of you are still very much employed while going through school. There are financial commitments, there are time commitments, there are other things in your way. That's fine. We're all humans. We all have all these things. So it's just figuring out, what can we balance? What do we maybe need to sacrifice a little bit so that we can truly commit in this space? Other thoughts? Any other final thoughts?
hear them thinking Dr. Olson.
Oh no, there's lots of wheels spinning. I'm all for it. Any of the comments online that we should pull out?
No comments yet. Just connections.
Okay. All right. Thank you, thank you. As part of that, we're going to run into a little bit more of our frameworks. Again, you're entering a culture, a community, right? Every group that you choose to engage with has its own kind of standard rules of practice and behavior. That's true everywhere. Whether it's a religious community, whether it's a gaming community, whether it's a social group, whether it's sports, they all have rules of engagement. We do too. And ours we refer to within the evolvitude statement. Evolvitude is a lovely hybrid word which involves the word evolvement, which is continual evolution, as well as tude, which is part of attitude. We stole it. So it's an attitude of continual development and continual growth. It's that growth mindset component of it. And we have it broken down into major components here. So we have the I choose, I strive, and I act. Broken into 3 different major components. So we're going to break those down a little bit and chat about them a little bit here. So the first one, I choose deliberate evolvement, grounded in love, trust, forgiveness, courage, kindness, humility, gratitude, and lightheartedness. Any of these particularly strike you right off the bat?
Trust and forgiveness.
Trust and forgiveness? Crucial, particularly in a healthcare environment, right? There's a lot of both that goes on all the time. Other thoughts? Anything else strike you? What was that? Love. Unique to have love placed in the middle of a statement of this kind. Kindness. Absolutely.
Courage.
Courage. Why does courage stand out so much?
Because you have to have the courage to accept the things you can't change. You can't
Mhm.
always change things. So you have to have that mindset in yourself to still be strong and move forward.
Good. Again, for those online, having the courage to be able to recognize you can't change everything, but being able to accept what you can't change and continue to support others in that same space. It does take a lot of courage when you know you really can't fix it, per se, but you can support. Anything else? Please.
Humility.
Humility. Why would humility be so important in this?
I just, for as much as we're going to learn, I mean, even though a lot of us are already nurses, it's just, to me, there's a lot of things that we don't know.
Yeah.
And going to it versus trying to play it off as if we already know something.
Yeah.
So knowing that you don't know it and being okay with it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. When I worked in the hospital system, I did have that all the time. People coming in and saying, well, I've worked 20 years, I know it. Like, it's not what the test says. So let's work on that together. Or people who would come in and they would start to tell whoever is the next one up the line, I know more than you, back off. Scope of practice. There's scope of practice concerns. I know many of you are already working in healthcare and have a tremendous level of skill. And many of you may even have a nurse's skill at this moment. But there's still a scope of practice difference. So a little humility and also recognizing there's a few things we can help to fill in a few perhaps performance gaps or even knowledge gaps that may have emerged because you organically learned the material rather than necessarily systemically learn the material. We're here to support you through that. But humility is always good. Anything else? Lightheartedness? Why does that stand out?
Because you can't take everything so personal. You have to kind of take it on a whim, you know.
Love that. Can't take everything so personal. Yeah, I agree. We do like to have fun. It is serious business we're doing, but we do like to have fun with it. And we will acknowledge when we've made mistakes or errors. And that's part of also recognizing we're all humans doing the best we can in the same space. A little lightheartedness goes a long way. Again, when we look at these are typically what people refer to as core values, right? These are central to a human's being. Why would we put the statement, I choose, in front of what many people view as a core value? Why do you think? I choose. when we're talking about core values? Yeah.
I think that's important. It kind of goes along with the involvitude, because you might have one or two of those things, or you might have most of them, but there might be one or two of them that you are lacking. So I'm choosing to evolve that into this journey going forward.
I love that. Love that. Any other thoughts? Two? Want to add to that, please?
I think it's because the whole thing is a core value, and it's kind of what's like, what drives you, what makes you your will, like, you know, what gives you that push to do what you want to do. And starting it with I choose, it's kind of inserting yourself in that, saying like, I'm holding myself accountable. This is my core value. This is what my belief is moving forward. Like, you know, this is what I'm truly putting my energy and focusing my energy. I think that's why I said I choose the core value.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love that. How many of you are human? Anyone willing to admit to being perfect? Because if you are, we should talk. I'd love to learn more. But I'm assuming we're not. So I choose is also implying an understanding that some of these things we may not necessarily be on our game on any particular moment. So the I choose is a reminder that all of these things, although they are core to who we want to be, core to what we believe is the best, we have to choose it every day. We have to constantly remind ourselves to engage in the practice. Some days we may not be full of humility. Some days may lack a lot of love. Some days we may not be grounded in forgiveness. So choosing and to remind ourselves of that is crucial so that we can continue to engage in that practice. Let's take a look at the next part there too. I strive. I strive for self-governing, self-actualizing, and self-transcending. Now these terms are quite lofty. They come from, if you're familiar with the work of Maslow, it's part of the needs pyramid, and they're the highest levels of the needs pyramid, meaning that all of our subsequent needs, housing, food, belonging, acceptance, etc., are all met. And now we're in a state where we are reaching our highest potential. Why do we include it in our statement? Why do you think we're choosing these highest level values within our statement?
It's a part of evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Self-governing, to govern yourself accordingly. Self-actualization, to realize where you actually are, and self-transcending, to evolve into what you're not.
I love that. One of note that we'll point out here as well, self-governing. Why do you think we pull out self-governing specifically out of that group to highlight?
There's a lot of responsibility that comes with being a nurse. And if you can manage yourself and know your level of responsibility, you're a more effective nurse.
Oh, love that. So self-governing, again, it's hard. And the level of responsibility we take on as nurses is going to be incredibly challenging. We need to be able to both govern ourselves to be able to support others in that space. Love that. And I would ask, within this space, within these three, I mean, the other ones we're choosing, you know, humans making choices, trying to do the best we can. In this one, we say, I strive. So we recognize that this is a goal. This is a stretch goal. Like, we're still choosing those other ones. We're stretching to get into the space. What do we have the power to control? Ourselves. That's it. When you speak with others, what they give you is completely outside of your control. How you choose to interpret what they've said, how you've chosen to react to what they've said, those are within your control. You can't control them. You can only control what you do with it. So it's part of that self-governance as well. It's also being aware, particularly in healthcare environments, as all of you who have worked in them know, people are not coming at their best. They're stressed, they're worried, they're in pain, they need someone else to help support them. So being on top of where we are allows us to lift others. And I act. So we've had I choose, I strive, I act. The act statement here, I act with growth mindset, transparency, responsibility while building community. What is a growth mindset?
Always looking to grow and be better.
Good.
And learning.
Always looking to grow and be better.
I think it's knowing that the world is evolving, and
No.
how we choose to flow with that really is a growth mindset or not.
Good. Knowing that the world is always changing and whether we choose to grow with it or not is a choice as part of that. Good. Growth mindset involves a lot. It involves a lot. It recognizes that we're all flawed, we're all doing our best, but we can always become a better version of ourselves. And that's how we choose to act. It's with the ability of recognizing, that's also part of the choosing humility, is recognizing, I know a lot, but I probably don't know everything. I've yet to meet a person who can't teach me something. So I recognize that, and I honor that. Everyone comes with the ability to teach me something more than I knew before. And I probably need that in my life. Probably need to learn whatever it is that they're bringing to the table for me. So that growth mindset allows us to engage. When we look at transparency or responsibility, can transparency be overused? I'm seeing some, well, I don't know, and I'm seeing some others go, oh yeah, oh yeah. So how can transparency be overused?
You can overshare and say things that don't need to be said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can overshare. I'm sure we've all met people who have overshared. And while we appreciate their level of transparency, we probably didn't need that at that moment. So when we're speaking of transparency, I'd say couple it with responsibility. Couple it with some of the other ones. Couple it with building community. Does this help strengthen and support the community bonds we're trying to build? Is this within the scope of responsibility that can help them to also become better versions of themselves? Or am I just given a lot of information I probably shouldn't? Really consider how some of these values may interlace with one another. So transparency is a great value. We all should be open about things that need to be covered, ways that we can grow. That's part of transparency too. But we should couple it with the responsibilities that we have and the community that we're trying to build. Let's ask one more question in here too. What is my role in building community? You're now entering the college. You've made the choice. You're hearing the call. You're crossing the threshold. Welcome. What is your responsibility in helping to build the community of the college?
I guess supporting each other where we can, and bringing what we have to offer to the table.
Supporting each other where we can and bringing what we have to the table to help others as well. I would say also consider within the environment, it will become hard. Think of it also in terms of those who come into the hospital who are going through hard times. Sometimes they're not at their best. And sometimes you may not be at your best within this community as well. Sometimes your partners in learning may not be their best coming into that space. What can we do to help build them up, build this community, and support them as well? Recognizing we may need that at times too. I'm not saying you have to be the only person who's building community. We all share that responsibility. I act. I'll point out one other thing with the statement here, which all of you have here in the room within your bags. The paper that's folded up there is the statement. All of these statements begin with the word I. not we. I act, I choose, I strive. It's deliberate. Coming into this community, we each individually choose, act, and strive along these lines. With that, again, we are coming full circle here. You're beginning your journey. You're heeding the call. There are lots of things that are going to make this hard. I recognize that. I honor that. Obviously, I've been through my own educational journeys. It's hard. It's incredibly hard. And there are lots of things we sacrifice to get to where we want to go. And there are lots of things that support us in getting to that end state. But it's hard. I recognize that. We're here to support you. We're here with resources to help and engage you. We want to invite you to heed the call. And again, 5:01 next Friday. Mountain time. That's mountain time. Do mark that, mountain time. Here in California, that gives you a little extra, but those on the East Coast, you gotta be on your game. That time zone's gonna get you. So pay attention to that. But you have until next week, Friday, the end of the ad drop period, to decide, is this journey the right one for you at this moment? If it's not, that's okay. Make a choice. Sometimes it's just not a right timing, and that's no blame, no judgment. We're all in different spaces in our life with lots of other things going. It's okay. If it is, wonderful. You've chosen, we're here, we'll support you. If it's not, that's okay too. But you have until then to make that decision. Figure out your why, which we've talked about quite a bit here. Figuring out what is it you're hoping to accomplish. Why are you choosing to engage in this journey? It is very challenging. It is. When I've been through several different educational journeys myself, there were a few times that I wanted to stop. There were a few times where money got too tight to maneuver. There were a few times where family situations, I have loved ones who we lost along the way. I had other hardships that came up. It can be hard to decide this is what I need right now. The why will drive you through. Really consider it. Write it down. Get excitable about it. Share it with your counselor. They can help to remind you your why as well. Support you through those hard times. Also, I'd invite you to take inventory of the 8 dimensions of wellness. I think it's crucial. Where are you now? When you meet with your counselor, talk through with them. If you find a space that you could have some improvement, or you think, oh, I'm a little rusty in this space, or I'm just not sure, talk with them. What resources are available to me? What can you do, or what's available that can help me to kind of think through this, or give me some resources, or give me some strategies that I can work around this? Like, I don't need you to do anything, just give me strategies. That's fine too. But just have a conversation. What can we do to help you as a holistic human doing a very hard thing to be successful? And then commit. Commit to evolvitude. It's an invitation. Invite everyone every day. If you're within the community, we invite you to act with growth mindset, transparency, responsibility, and building community, to strive and to choose to live according to those core values as we go through the journey. And with that, we want to welcome you. It's not always, I've made it sound real grim, right? It sounds really bleak. It's really hard. You're going to struggle. You're going to have trials, right? I've made it sound really hard going through this. And I want to be realistic about those expectations, right? It is going to be hard. It will take sacrifice. But I also want to say this is an incredible space. You are entering an incredibly noble, trusted, beloved profession. What you do for healthcare is going to improve lives. It doesn't just help people get back on their feet when they've been sick. It's not just curative medicine. You have the power going into this profession to influence generations of individuals' health, well-being, and financial futures. That is nothing to be ashamed of or to think, oh, I just don't know. You're taking on an incredible opportunity to change this nation. The health, the outcomes, the historic inequalities that have existed in all of those metrics, you're part of the solution. It's an incredible, incredible challenge, choice, and opportunity for you. And I think you should be proud of that. You should be excited about that. It is going to be hard to get there, but anything worth doing always takes extra time and challenge. So if you choose to engage, we're behind you. We want you to be successful. Nobody in the college looks at a learner and says, oh, they're just flat not going to make it. We're looking at you saying, all right, there's a delta between where they're at and where they need to be, and that's okay. Growth mindset says we can get you there. Growth mindset says there's a way to get from point A to point B, and we want to support you. If you commit to that, we're behind you. So recognize that we're all here to help get you there. And with that, we invite you to cross the threshold, to discover your unlimited potential. We never know what the potential is of the hero is when they're at home. We only find out when they go through the trials and then come out the other end. So we invite you to discover your potential within nursing, within perhaps your education, within your growth mindset, with what you can be, and choose to engage in that way. And with that, welcome. Welcome to Nightingale College. Welcome to your journey. Welcome to the opportunity to meet phenomenal faculty all over the country, to be exposed to nursing environments, big and small, to have an opportunity to engage in clinical spaces you may not have been exposed to before, but an opportunity to see how those clinical practices can change lives across the entire nation. We welcome you to your fellow learners who will be your partners in this journey the whole time. We hope that all of you, both here in the room and those online, will be able to meet those in your geographical area, support one another, study together, learn what you need to learn, but recognizing that this is a supportive community. And it's a wonderful opportunity to help one another, to be better, to do better, and to achieve more. And with that, we want to welcome you all. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you all for the sacrifice that's already been, for those in the room, sacrifice of driving through LA traffic to be here, and for those online, in changing your other commitments to make room, to make space to be with us. We love you. It's part of our choosing. We choose to love you. We welcome you, and we want all the best for you. Welcome to Nightingale College, and we hope you have a fantastic journey.